What's up guys, welcome back to another XCT video, and I'm here with Mario Tomic in London. Mario is a fitness and health expert, and also he's into personal development. So today we are going to talk about how to kill procrastination. So Mario, first of all, can you define what procrastination is? Because I'm sure not many people know what it is. Just to start with the basics.
Thanks for having me, man. I mean, there's many definitions. One I kind of just guess lean toward is essentially that you're not doing the things that you know that you need to do, and the things that will move you forward, and you're doing things that are sort of less priority, or you're not doing anything at all. And the reason why I'm making distinguishing their factor between doing high leverage work versus, let's say, stuff that is not that important is because almost all the things that we actually procrastinate on might not be the things that are completely useless, but it just aren't the one thing that you should be doing. Let me give you an example. If you're a business owner right now, instead of doing your one thing where you're an expert, maybe closing huge deals, you're worrying how, I don't know, which color your toilet paper is in your toilet, right? Things like that. So you are doing kind of useful stuff, but it's still procrastinating on the big thing. It's essentially the thing in procrastination, what your main thing that you should be doing is probably the thing that you're most afraid of, or the thing that you're the most uncomfortable with starting. That's usually the thing that you're gonna procrastinate on. That's, I mean, same for us here. And that's kind of definition essentially there, is that it is anything that you're avoiding that is extremely important, that is going to move you forward, you're probably procrastinating on it.
You know, one of the problems I personally have sometimes is that I spend a lot of time on social media, reading posts that absolutely don't make any sense to my life. And basically I'm wasting a lot of time on social media. So one of the things that I did, basically, I just removed anything from my feed that doesn't have to do with my goals. So that's one of the things that I did to kill my procrastination. But for example, as you mentioned before, sometimes you are wasting time on, for example, what clothes to wear during the day. And it was pretty interesting because I was reading Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. He's having the same exact t-shirt and gym every single day. And actually I didn't know the logic why he's doing that. So this now absolutely makes absolute sense, that probably is because to not waste any time for what clothes to wear.
Exactly.
And that's pretty interesting.
There's some pretty good science in that. It's called decision fatigue in the scientific world, if we're looking at psychology research. And one interesting study on that I can recall right now is a study where they have a judge on parole hearings. Basically, people were coming in, the judges were supposed to listen to them and give them either a positive for their parole, so they were kind of free because they did sort of their time, and versus they go back into prison. And what they did in this study was very interesting, is that they've observed it doesn't really matter how good the case is, whether someone really deserves to be released or kept in jail, but it's more actually what has the effect is the time of the day, at which time of the day the judge had to make the decision. So when the judges were making decisions in the morning, basically when they were fresh, when they weren't fatigued with so many decisions, there were a lot more positives. They were releasing a lot more people. They were actually looking at their cases. But the more the day passed, the more the day went on, judges were giving more and more negatives because they had made so many decisions up until that point, so their brains were fatigued, so they couldn't make a proper decision. They couldn't look at all the facts, so they were just playing it safe. And that's one thing that Mark Zuckerberg, Obama, or whoever else, like Richard Branson or whoever else, it's wearing like simple clothes. They're literally trying to eliminate the number of kind of trivia choices or irrelevant choices that they have in their life, so they can focus on the big stuff. And we lose a lot of our daily energy on decision fatigue or an ego depletion and forcing our willpower to decide on things that are not very important. These are all kind of draining your energy, and there's going to be less energy then available for the things that really matter, the things that are your purposeful work, basically.
That's pretty awesome, man. Really interesting stuff. So what are your top tips for someone that is procrastinating to go to the gym? Because there are many people, you know, that sometimes they are lazy to go to the gym. So what are your top tips for someone to get out of this procrastination that has to do with going to the gym?
It's a very, very hard question.
Let me answer this. You know,
okay.
if you have a training program and a nutrition program, basically it motivates you to go to the gym. So sometimes it helps you
Yes.
to kill procrastination.
Exactly.
But I'm 100% sure there are more things than that. For example, if you see results every single week with your program, if you see progress, this motivates you more to go to the gym. But you know, sometimes we are feeling lazy. Do you know that? Can you extend this? Can you give some more in-depth
well,
tips on how someone can kill completely procrastination and start going to the gym? And any top tips? I'm sure you have them.
Well, okay, so number one, the reason why I say it's a very hard question is because we're dealing with the basic human psychology where we're literally leaning toward things that are giving us pleasure and moving away from pain. So that's the basic human philosophy, is that you would go toward things that require less effort. So you would naturally pick the path of least resistance to maintain your homeostasis in your comfort zone. Basically human nature. But the thing is, if you're in your comfort zone, nothing good will come out of that. I mean, all the good stuff that you're gonna accomplish in your life are probably gonna be stuff that is outside of your comfort zone. That's the tricky part there. So the thing that, okay, let's break it down a little bit. Let's take a step back. So what could actually cause procrastination? Well, one thing, and the first thing is that I will just use myself here as an example. A lot of people that I work with is perfectionism. Perfectionism, one of those things that can cause procrastination. Basically, you're ready when it's 100% ready to start. What we're missing, the point here is that you can literally never be 100% ready. And how do we know that? Well, if you look at all the data from, let's say, training and nutrition is the main focus here, is that the individual response, or whatever your response will be from training, cannot be diagnosed before you actually start training. So you cannot logically or mentally or think your way to the perfect program. The only way you can figure out a perfect program is you actually start applying something, gather data. Based on that, you're the n=1 in a mini scientific experiment, which is yourself, and then you see what works, what doesn't, and then you tweak from there. So literally, the perfect program that you might have, quote unquote, perfect started with isn't going to be the same program most likely that you're going to be with in a couple of months, because you will make those tweaks and adjustments. So there's no way you can be perfect in the beginning. So that's one thing that really helps people to understand, is that you should start when you're 80% ready, right? When you're 80% perfect. Then that's kind of my tip for pretty much all my clients, that you're never going to be perfect, which is just totally realistic. I mean, human beings, we're not perfect. We're very, very flawed in our thinking. There's a billion things that can happen that can skew our judgments. Now, another thing that I want to point out here is you mentioned procrastination as a general term. One big issue here is that we don't see the cost of procrastination until it's rising to such a high level that it starts causing us pain. What do I mean by that? Well, look, in the beginning, let's say, we can all recall, let's say doing your homework in high school. If you don't do your homework immediately, the longer you procrastinate, the harder and harder your perception of how difficult the homework is. It's going to go up, right? So in 7 days, it's going to look much more difficult than it looked on day one. And if you procrastinate on it for a month, it's going to look exponentially more difficult. And I mean, the difficulty is the same, don't get me wrong, but just your perception of how difficult the task is, it is going to exponentially increase. So even logically thinking from that standpoint, the best time to do it is exactly at the time where you get that thing on your to-do list. And that's, I mean, the first two things that I want to mention is that realize that it's going to get more and more difficult the more you procrastinate. And the first tip I gave there is realize that you will never be perfect, so you better get started. And if we're talking about working out, here's a quick thing there, is that if you're actually ready for the workout plan, that workout plan is not gonna make you grow. The fact that that workout plan is good for you is because you're not ready for it. Think about that for a second. The point of the workout plan is to be one step ahead of you. This is called progressive overload. The workout plan is supposed to induce an adaptation from your body to get stronger. So it's never gonna be something you're gonna be 100% ready for. So might as well just start doing it.
That's pretty awesome information. That's why I love this guy. This guy, he's making videos, everything based on science, and you should definitely follow him, because as I told you, everything that Mario is doing, we will back up with science. Is gonna give you tons of information, tons of value. Actually, I got tons of value out of you from this video. and I definitely recommend you guys to go and subscribe to his channel. I don't know, do you want to add anything else of this, because you pretty much covered the basic things about, you know, procrastination. Of course we can go more deeper if we want, maybe
there's so many angles. Yeah, there's so many angles.
There are different levels of procrastination, but you pretty much covered the basics, and this is what I love about your content, because you are backing up everything with science. And definitely go and subscribe to Mario Tomic's channel. You're gonna get tons of value from his videos, from his programs. Amazing guy. I'm gonna link his links at the description below. Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, man, I just want to add, and I want a big thank you for having me on the channel.
Actually, thank you.
The stuff that I'm talking about here this is not stuff that I've invented. I'm a student of life, same as you watching this. I'm no special guru or a magic solution provider. I'm telling you what might work for you. And as we mentioned earlier in the video, you can just try this out and see if it works for you. We make no guarantees. It can change your life. And if you apply yourself, if you take action, it probably will. And that's something that we can tell you with basically full integrity. And I hope this information is helpful for you. Again, thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure meeting you.
I should say a huge thank you to RSD Max, because if it wasn't for RSD Max, we wouldn't be here today.
Exactly.
He was the guy that he introduced me to Mario Tomic, and now we're very good friends. We hang out in London, making some awesome content. So thank you so much, Mario, for being to my channel once again. And hopefully we're gonna meet again, man, cracking more content.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, dude. Thanks for having me.
Make sure you subscribe to Mario's channel. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends. Mario is going to be in the comments below. If you have any questions, make sure you comment them below. And we're going to see you again in the next video.
Peace.
Every week probably with new supplement companies about sponsorships. Recently, to be honest, I rejected £1,000 per month sponsorship from a very popular supplement company. But the main reason I rejected this sponsorship is because, as Mario said, I don't want anyone to tell me exactly